Okie doke. Hola. This would be section B, I think. Is that right? Yeah. Section B from the workbook in chapter 17, and I figure we maybe do one or two of these, just kind of talk through it. And I've got my magic staff ready to go. So, if we look back at this, we've got a chord. I can see what it is. Can you see what it is? We're in the key of C major. We're going to lead into this chord and lead out of it in the key of C major. F sharp, E flat, A, and C. So let's go over here. We're in C major. Bring that up. And we've got this chord F sharp. Ooh, that coffee's kicking in. Look at those. F sharp, E flat, A, and C. I'll be okay. All right. Well, first we got to analyze that chord. So in good old EGBDFAC land, if I put in F sharp, E flat, A, and C, I'm going to find that F sharp, A, C, E flat. Let's just jot that chord down over here. F sharp, A, C, E flat is our root position version of that chord. And that is an F sharp full diminished 7. And as we know from our study of secondary functions, I'm just going to put my feet up. It's Friday. What the heck? If we find a full diminished seventh or a diminished triad even out of place, we're going to assume that it's a secondary function, and we're going to try to analyze it as such. So diminished chords are leading tone chords. We look to the root of that chord, right here, this F sharp, and we ask ourselves, well, where would it lead? It would lead to a G. And G in the key of C would be some kind of 5 chord. And so this would be a 7 diminished 7 of 5. I'm going to put that over here. 7 diminished 7 of 5. All right. We've talked about diminished chord resolutions. Let's just go through and resolve it from the G perspective. If we look at this from the G perspective, then the F sharp is a T, and T wants to go to Do. Again, I'm going to look at each one of these tones from the G perspective. So F sharp is T. T wants to go to Do. What would E flat be in solfege in the key of G? Well, look, I have a piano right here. How about that? If I go G, a major scale, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, E flat then is Lay. And Lay wants to come down to Sol. That's how Lay resolves. Just like La wants to come. La, so up, so is your favorite dog. So La, Sol, Lay, Sol. That little half step takes you down to Sol. So that's how we're going to resolve this E flat. I'm telling you, I am tweaking. Wants to come down to D, to the 5th. And then here's Re from the G perspective. Re wants to go to Do. And here's Fa. Fa wants to go to Mi. So here's our Do. Here's our Mi. Did you follow that? I'm going to jot in the solfege. The root of a 7 diminished is a T. The third of a 7 diminished up here in the alto voice is a Re. The fifth of a 7 diminished is a fa. The seventh of a 7 full diminished 7 is a lay. And so they want to resolve to do, to sol, re to do, and fa to mi. Dig it? And we end up perfectly. Root position, it was a root position 7 diminished. No matter what the inversion would have been of this 7 diminished, you would have resolved all 4 of those tones exactly the same way. You're going to end up with a doubled root and a third and a fifth. Cool? Okay, so where could this come from? Well, there's a couple thoughts, and it comes back to that idea of using non-chord tone vocabulary to describe motion. So let's pick one. If we picked a passing tone figure and we put this F here, that would be a very reasonable thing to experience, because 5 chords are preceded. 5 chords as sol chords. Now I'm back in the key of C, calling this sol. 5 chords are most often preceded by fa chords on the 4th scale degree. You dig that? So that's a passing tone approach. We could do fa, and what are our 2 favorite fa chords? That's right, kids. Oh, maybe pause the video and think about it. The answer is 4 and 2-6, or 2-6-5. Those are our most common fa chords. I just want to reiterate that these solfege we put here are in the key of G major. Those are G major solfege, so don't get confused. All right. So let's go with a 2-6. How about a 2-6? 2-6, we'd probably, let's see, it's a D minor. If I want contrary motion in the soprano, I might want the D, the root there. I need a 5th A. Oh, that's a common tone right here. And then the question is, how will I double? Will I double the soprano? Yeah, we could have neighbor motion in the tenor voice by doubling the soprano and putting a D there. Let's make sure there's no parallel octaves. No. So that's an option. Or we could have doubled the bass voice in the tenor. But that looks pretty good. So that you can see I used passing motion in the bass. I took a standard diatonic chord, this 2 chord that would lead to 5, and we inserted the secondary function as a passing harmony, an interesting chromatic passing harmony. And it's cool. It's got a passing tone in the bass's chromatic passing tone, and it has a cool chromatic upper neighbor in the tenor voice. It's pretty sweet. Somebody should play that on a piano. Check that out. Pause it, play it. It'll sound cool. Yeah, let's continue. Let's mess around with the same one. Let's go ahead and erase that and look at a different possibility. What if instead, and again, I'm focusing on the bass line, this chromatic bass note of F sharp. What if instead of passing motion, it was neighbor motion? What if it came from the sol? Whoa, I can't write with that. Here we go. What if it comes from sol and comes back? Well, neighbor motion, as you know, comes back to right where it started. So we could take this whole chord and just write it right as is and have it go from 5. So the progression was cruising along. We were cruising along in this progression. We got to the 5 chord, And then just to make it interesting, decided to push into this 7 diminished of 5 and then come right back. So that's what neighbor motion is. That's what neighbor motion is as a single non-chord tone, and that's what neighbor motion is as a neighboring harmony. We push it into this chord, we create this tension of the 7 diminished, and then it pushes us right back. Now that neighbor motion in the tenor makes sense. It made sense before. And now there's neighbor motion in the bass as well. That's pretty cool, pushing up into that diminished 7th interval and then back to the perfect 5th. That's pretty sweet. And then this upper neighbor motion in both soprano and alto. Somebody should play that on the piano. I think you will. What's another non-chord tone figure we could use? What about an appoggiatura? You know, what if we just leapt right out of the one chord, right into it? It's pretty extreme, but why not? It's an ascending chromatic motion, so I'm going to leap from above. Anytime you have this diminished interval, we talked about this back in the day, chapter 5, but this idea of, see this ascending chromatic motion? I instinctively want to come at it from the opposite direction, so it's coming back. The idea is that the bass line is from the longer perspective is sort of circling or orbiting around a similar line in the middle. If we come from here and we jump up to this and then it ascends, it implies that we left a voice behind and we're really operating as two different voices. So just always be thinking about that. Ascending motion should be preceded with descending motion. So that's what I'm going to do. Well, what would be the rest of our one chord? And this is a weird example. The Friday coffee is really inspiring me. Let's say we started with this 1 and we just leapt right into this chromatic harmony and then back to the 5. So how would we want to voice this? Well, we got a C common tone up here. Let's see. I haven't thought this out at all. Oh, it's going to be all right. We'll put a G here, and we'll put the E right here. So I got doubled root, 3rd and 5th. The E ends up moving chromatically down chromatic passing tone, so that's kind of cool voice leading. The C has a common tone and then resolves down by steps, sort of a suspension figure there. We have neighbor motion here. I don't think we're going to run into any issues with perfect 5th or perfect octaves, moving in parallel motion. Everything looks good. So that could be a really interesting way to begin a progression. It's a little odd, but again, I just wanted to show the appoggiatura figure now for the bass, leaping into this dissonance and resolving back by step. Standard appoggiatura figure. Cool. I think that's all we'll do. I don't want to make this video too long. It gives you some different approaches to harmonizing around this secondary function. And the process, of course, was solve the secondary function they give you, analyze it, figure out what it is, resolve it to its chord because it has a place it wants to go, and then try to find different contexts to put that chord in, meaning adding the harmony right before it. Alrighty. I hope you have fun. Bye.